Good morning.
Good morning.
Join with me in honoring our country, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
G, would you mind offering prayers?
Sure. Heavenly Father, we come before you this day, thanking you for the gift of another day. Be with each one of us as we go about our lives, working, some of us retired and others doing service in the community. Help us to be all mindful that we are to serve others as you have equipped us to do just that. So we thank you for the privilege and opportunity to do it, and be with us today as we meet and those who couldn't be here. For we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, Rotarians.
Good morning.
Good morning. All of you are fine this morning. Several small announcements that I need to cover this morning. As you know, Richard Tucker is not here. His brother is accepting Jake's money. So if you haven't paid for Jake, please pass it along. Steiger is in Italy. And I talked with him Friday, just, checked. I knew he was leaving, and he was in D.C. catching a plane. And I told him not to embarrass the Rotary Club while he was gone. So he was sure that he wouldn't embarrass anyone. And so I think he's coming back this weekend. Richard is coming back Saturday. Okay, and he's leaving this morning.
As we speak.
Okay, all right. I don't know if we need to contact him or not. All right, anything for the good of Rotary that you need to announce? It's confession time before I call on someone.
I'll give something. It's not confessional, but y'all know that my son went through a really, really hard time. He graduates from Firefighter Academy Friday.
Congratulations.
He becomes an official firefighter. But he was so tickled to death. He's going to be done with the classes and stuff. Now he's got 10 more weeks of EMS training there.
Where's he going to work?
He's on the hire list for Hickory City.
Oh, very good.
Good. That's great. Congratulations. I'm glad to hear the update. Gavin,
Sir,
confession time. Anything to confess?
do you have to confess a birthday?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yesterday was your birthday.
It was, yes. Yeah. It was my birthday yesterday.
Yes, sir. I need $1 from you because
$1 from me because it's my
Yeah.
birthday. Okay, you're taking in change.
I was checking last night to be sure. I knew it fell in October.
I got you, Gavin.
You got Gavin?
I got Gavin.
Okay, thank you.
All right, he's got
Happy
Gavin.
birthday.
All right, birthday.
That's right.
I thought about us singing to you, but it's a day late. I didn't think that would be as appropriate.
It's never too late, Wayne, for you to say happy birthday.
Is anyone, Lynn Seymour, any information on Lynn?
He'll be here next week.
Okay, all right, I didn't know what had happened. He's been absent several times, so good deal. All right, next week is Halloween. I will give you advance notice. On 6th Street, where we live, we have purchased already 1,200 pieces of candy, and we're gonna be through by 8:30, probably. 5:30 to 8:30, we lock it down, we'll run out of candy.
How many people usually show up?
Up the street, they give out over 3,000 pieces of candy. On my end, they kind of work back this way. But my neighbor, I talked with him before he put up anything. I said, look, Hamilton, don't put up as much this year because they'll all start coming down the street. And damn, if he didn't put up all these inflatables.
That big white ghost, is that him?
He's got cats and all this other big ones. So
But if you get about 1,000 kids, maybe?
we'll get 1,000. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna give each kid one piece of candy, huh?
Right. And one thing I will tell you, it's funny, that we'll run out.
I see you there.
Yeah.
The first one of the early times where it really started big, I thought it'd be great. Good morning.
Good
Mike,
morning.
how are you this morning? Okay. No, just do it. All right. The early time, I decided I'd take a legal pad, and when the kid came to the door, I said, great, you look fine. What school do you go to? Okay. You wouldn't believe I had 30-some different schools. Freedom High School, Glen Alpin, Statesville, Alexander County. Real.
Your reputation has spread.
It's rough. It really really is. All right, I have down confession time, Michael Wimble. Okay, well, there it is. Anything to confess this morning?
Well, is this my turn?
All right, you get, that'll help. Anytime something green will help, okay.
I confess that's the only one I can.
That's it, all right, good deal. And so you have covered Gavin.
But Phil, but Phil look like this, so if anything you need to find me from Phil, that's it.
It's gonna cover.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got Gavin's covered, is that
I
right?
gave you that a long time ago.
Where
Down
is
there.
it?
I put it in your hand when you came down here. It's bit in the middle.
I haven't seen it yet.
Gavin, did you see me give him $1?
I did, yes, I did.
All right, just want to be sure things are straight. So anyway, we're celebrating his birthday. Anything else to come before the club? Okay, Rick, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Wayne, for always getting our meetings started well. Our program today is going to be given to us by Dr. Ryan McCreary. So Ryan, it is all yours.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I thought this morning, do you remember when we visited the Workforce Solutions Complex over at CCC? I thought what might be helpful is if I can build off of that visit and kind of connect the dots around work-based learning opportunities in our community, and with the hope that either you yourself might be able to figure out a way to plug into it, or as you talk to people in the community that you know that might be interested in doing internships and apprenticeships and that type of thing, then you would know who to connect them to get, at least get them started. On Monday of this week, there was a symposium over at the Hickory Metro Center called Tapping into Talent, and it was put on by the Catawba County Chamber of Commerce. And the sessions that they had, the first one was around apprenticeships. So at CVCC, there's a continuing education wing there that they can help working adults that are wanting to transition, get into apprenticeships or into internships. And then there's also another sector called the Center for Workforce Connectivity and Talent Development, and they work with current CVCC students, traditional students, and they can help them with job placement, they can help get them into internships. And then at CVCC, there's several work-based learning courses that are offered, and depending on what program area you're in, you can take those courses. So at this first session that they had at the symposium, it was all around apprenticeships, and they had a gentleman from Catawba that spoke. They had Mr. Rumswinkle from Sarstead. You remember when we did that tour? And he was there and gave us the tour of their facility. Those two folks are really big proponents of the apprenticeship model. And if you go onto, you can go on the CCC's website, or you can just Google Apprenticeship Catawba. But Sarstead and Catawba are two of the primary partners in that group. I think it's up to eight businesses or corporations now. And that would be an opportunity if you know someone that would like to engage, a business that would like to engage in apprenticeships, you could go to the Apprenticeship Catawba website, and you could see those list of business partners, and you could contact those folks, and they could help talk you through what it would look like. The other piece to an apprenticeship is it's kind of the most extensive, I guess, work-based learning model that there is. It usually involves about 3,500 hours of on-the-job training. The students are typically, if they're a part of Apprenticeship Catawba, they're also simultaneously taking courses at CVCC. When we did the tour at Sarstead, there was a young man that came out that is a part of Apprenticeship Catawba, and he was in his third year. His name was Jacob, and he's a graduate of Hickory High School. And I asked him the next day, because he was in class at CVCC the next morning after our visit, and we started talking, and he had found out about Apprenticeship Catawba just kind of by chance, going to an information session that they had at the high school, and he got interested in it. And then with Apprenticeship Catawba, what they do is the students interview with the employers, and the group of employers partners and the students collectively work together to identify where they would be most successful in terms of placement. So for Jacob, it ended up being Sarstead. And what Jacob's typical day would look like as a student is he would go to work in the morning. I think he told me from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 a.m. And he'd go home and change clothes and shower, and then he'd finish out his day at Hickory High. So he'd go the last 2 periods of the school day, and that was his high school experience. So the whole entire time, his junior and senior year, he was earning full pay at Sarstead. He was getting benefits, and then when he graduated from Hickory High, he was able to enroll directly at CVCC, and he's in the mechatronics program, which, if you remember when we did that visit, in the main lobby area there was a big glass window, and it had the machines in there, and we could see what the students were learning. So he was, after our visit to Sarstead the next morning, he was in class at 8 a.m. And he was the first one there, and I was talking to him, and he said, Mr. Gray, I'm always on time for class. I always come every single time because Sarstead is paying me to be here. So he's earning his 40-hour work week even while he's in class. So what's going to end up happening for Jacob is he's going to graduate from CCC with a 2-year degree in mechatronics. He's continuing to move up within Sarstead, and then he's planning to keep going and get a mechanical engineering degree. He'll probably get that through UNC Charlotte because there's a transfer agreement. But and he's going to continue to work full time at Sarstead. So he's an example of what it could look like. And you know, he's already working on a career. He's very happy. His girlfriend actually lives in the neighborhood that I live in. He drives his own car. He's living a pretty good life, and he's been able to do it all right here within Catawba County. He's making a pretty good wage in the process. But that type of story is playing itself out a lot in our community, and folks, I think, just aren't aware of the options and the opportunities. But what's happening at Sarstead is also happening at those other partners. At the symposium, a couple of the things that were shared in terms of benefit is it's allowed companies like Sarstead and Tenovo to be able to bring in students directly out of high school and give them the training that they need, but also help them develop an understanding of the culture of the business. They said that most of the students that went in as high school students, they've now moved up into management roles at the companies. So it's a way to keep training your workforce and keep it adapting. In terms of benefits for the employers, they're being able to train their own workers, so to speak. But the other thing that it does is it infuses energy and new ideas as you're bringing on these younger folks into the business. So it creates opportunities for current employees to mentor younger people, and then also kind of vice versa. The younger generations coming in and being able to share ideas as well, and they can work together, and it's a really cool relationship. I know that one of the speakers, she's in HR at Century Furniture, and she was talking about how their workforce is everyone from 17 to 83. So they got 5 generations within one company, and talking about the relationships and how you get an 83-year-old and a 17-year-old to work together. But this idea of mentoring and bringing them on early and training them is really creating some awesome opportunities for these students. At LR, so if you take Lenore Ryan, for example, there's a center, I think it's called the Alex Lee Center for Workforce and Professional Development. Mm-hmm. The lady that directs that, her name is Katie Woolman, and you can call over here, just Google on LR's website, and Katie Woolman can help you find out more information about internships with students here. It's the same type of setup that you would get at CVCC and also at our 3 school systems. But you can contact her here. She was one of our speakers as well, and she could help connect you with interns from the 4-year university level. At CVCC, Tammy Muller, she came and spoke at one of our meetings as well. She's the director for the Center for Workforce Connectivity and Talent Development at CECC. And there's another gentleman there, his name is Nick Clemens, and their sole purpose is to help CVCC students get job placement or engage in internships, and they're doing the same type of work. So students that are at CVCC can engage in these internship opportunities that could lead to a job as well. And then at our 3 school systems, in Hickory Public Schools, her name is Karen Boyles. She's the, I think the CT coordinator is her title. But if you call her, she could help direct you to who you would need to talk to get in terms of high school students being able to be interns. In Newton Conover, her name is Jessica Schuweiler. And then in Catawba County Schools, it would be Jeff Eisenhower. Internships are a little bit different than apprenticeships. Apprenticeships are typically 3,500 hours. Internships usually are around 160 hours. Students are still, they're typically, if we're talking about high school students, they're taking a full course load, and then maybe for one period of the day, they're going to a business and doing their internship. Some folks set it up to where, like when I was with K64, we had some students that were traditional high school students, and then they would take on a 5th period and do an internship outside of school. So they go to school the whole day, and then they go to a business. Internships can be both paid and unpaid. Students like it a whole lot better if it's paid. But there are a couple options there. And then I've mentioned before that, and I still do teach a course called Work-Based Learning 120 at the community college, and we designed that from scratch last fall. And it's kind of what, I'm kind of backing all the way down, but it's the easiest way for employers to engage in their internships because it's only 32 hours. So what I tell folks when I go out and talk to them, business owners, is that 32 hours is a really easy way to get started with internships or apprenticeships, and hopefully once you get some experience with that and figure out how to design a 32-hour program, then you can move up to a full internship, 160, and then if the business wanted to, you could do 3,500 hours. But that's kind of the progression. It's anything from 32 hours to 160 to 3,500, depending on what a business feels comfortable doing or what they feel like they have the capacity to be able to handle. Does that all kind of make sense? But when I go out and talk to high school students, one of the things that I try to really emphasize with them is at this point in time, I feel like it's really important that kids are either working a part-time job, they're engaging in a work-based learning opportunity like I'm talking about, and or they're involved in athletics or in clubs, something that is helping them learn how to develop their communication skills or ability to work with others. All of those things that we know create success in the business world. So that's one of the things I really try to get kids to understand. Plus it helps put something on their resume when they get ready to apply for jobs, that they can say that I've been an intern here, or I'm an apprentice here, or I've worked part-time at Chick-fil-A, for example. I always give students the example, if I've got two kids that are applying for a position at my organization, and I see on one person's resume that they've worked at Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, and the other one has no work experience whatsoever, I'm going to offer an interview to the one that's got some part-time work experience, because if I see there that they worked at Chick-fil-A for 2 full years in high school, that tells me that they showed up on time. They've learned some customer service skills, because I know when I go to Chick-fil-A, I know how we're treated. And then on top of that, they've been retained for 2 years by the employer, so that tells me that they're doing a pretty good job there. And that's what I try to sell to students. There's also a tool online. If you go to nccareers.org, there's a tool called Reality Check. And I do this all the time with high school students. But that tool, what it allows them to do is that there's probably 8 or 9 different things that associate with just life and bills. And they go through and they check all these check marks, and at the end it gives them a summary of what their minimum monthly income needs to be to support the lifestyle that they want to have. And it's everything from, I want to own an apartment, or I want to rent an apartment, I want to own an average home, I'm going to live with my parents. Transportation, it's everything from, I'm going to use public transportation, I'm going to ride a bike, or I'm going to drive a Mercedes. But they're checking these boxes, and that tool is customized to the area of the United States that you live in as well. So I help students understand, like, if you're wanting to live in North Carolina, the cost of living is much less than if you're trying to live in New York City. But that tool adjusts accordingly. What it also does that is awesome for students to understand is when they get to the end and they see this minimum monthly income that I have to earn, there's also a link at the bottom that says, like, find occupations, I think. You click that link and it'll give you a whole list of jobs that earn a minimum salary that would support that lifestyle. So what is eye-opening to students is I'll give them a tour of the Workforce Solutions Complex, and we'll see all those trades that are offered there. And then they'll go on and they'll realize that I need to earn a minimum annual salary of, let's say, $50,000. Well, I can go to CCC and get a 2-year degree as a machinist, and I can earn $51,000 a year on average, and I can have the lifestyle that I want to have, and I can live in Catawba County. And the dots start to connect for the students, and then they realize that, oh, I could go be an apprentice and become a machinist and have the business pay for everything. And you know, their wheels start to spin at this point. So there's a world of opportunities available for students, but I think there's also a ton of opportunities with work-based learning for businesses to help grow their own people, so to speak. Give back to the community in such a way that you're creating these mentoring opportunities. And I think it's a win-win for businesses and for our students. And the students I have a lot of hope for our future, because I think we have a lot of students that they're graduating with a skill set that is really awesome. It's just a matter of plugging them into the right opportunities to take advantage of that. So I wanted to share with you all this morning and try to help connect the dots in terms of work-based learning and how it plays itself out, like in those trades that you saw when we visited the Workforce Solutions Complex. And then we have employers in our community that are already doing it really well, to the point, like with Tanova, he shared that they started off as Apprenticeship Catawba, but now they've also created their own internal program for their employees. So their current employees can go through a training program within the business and either go into a different area or move up in terms of management, and they're building off of that model. But both gentlemen shared that when the economy has not been so great, both of their businesses were fine because they had these employees that they were already training. They haven't had a problem. They haven't had a worker shortage or having to go out and find people, because they're constantly training and bringing them out of high school into their businesses. But if you have any questions, if you don't remember anything that I said, you just want to do work-based learning, just contact me and I can get you to the right people and help you get started. But hopefully that was helpful.
How does the furniture program out on 70 interface with that set?
So the Furniture Academy, my understanding with that program is it is aligned with the continuing education side of the community college. So in the community college system, you have continuing education, and then you have traditional curriculum side. Continuing education is for any adults that want to improve in a certain skill area, or an adult that's wanting to change careers maybe, so they could go back to school. The Furniture Academy, that model, the employers in our community that are part of that partnership help provide materials for it. They also kind of incentivize it in terms of the graduates have instant job opportunities. But it's offered usually as an 8-week program, I believe, and it's in the evenings. The reason that it's in the evenings is those business partners are sending some of their current employees to teach the classes. So it's that type of partnership. I had a lady that I met with when I was with K64 who owned her own housekeeping business, and she was very successful, but she wanted to do something different. So she came and met with me, and I got her plugged into the Furniture Academy. So she was able to continue working her housekeeping business and then go at night to CCC to learn the furniture trade and how I think she was wanting to become a sewer. When they graduate from that program, I think there's eight furniture partners in it. Those students that graduate are able to instantly apply for positions at those organizations, and they're able to enter in as a certain level and get a certain pay because they've already got that basic skill set. But that's how that model works.
In K64 Center there, was welding and CAD design a strong path?
Yes, so the welding program, I believe CCC has the largest welding program in the whole Southeast. There's about, last I heard, we had about 200 students in the program. That program's offered within the Workforce Solutions Complex, but there's also it's also offered in Alexander County at that facility. They do two different things. It's more fabrication oriented at the Alexander campus, and then at CCC it's traditional welding. But those students, there's one young man that went through the program there, and he just this past fall took a position with a private company, and he is a pipe welder, and he's super talented, but the company, they'll fly him around the country when there's a problem, and he'll go in and weld, and he's gonna make about $110,000 a year pipe welding. And students love that type of stuff. I mean, when I talk to elementary students, and I say, do you like fire and sparks and all that? And they say, yes, Mr. Craig. I said, well, welding's the career for you. And they get to learn a little bit about it. And Mark Sigmund, the director of that welding program, he'll come out, when he comes out and speaks with elementary students, he has a simulated welding machine, and the kids can put on their goggles and pretend like they're welding, and it'll give them a score at the end. And the kids get a kick out of it. Like when I put on the goggles, and the second graders are beating me at welding. It's really cool. But yeah, that program's really grown as well. I'll tell you another program that just started from scratch that relates to work-based learning as well is Keysight works with that continuing education side of it. But they created a construction academy that ran for the first time this past summer. And they had 30 students in the program, and what that allowed to happen this past summer is all of those students went and worked with local construction companies, and they were getting paid in the process, and they were earning high school credit as well. The parents loved it because their children were off of the sofa and actively working this past summer, but I think six of the students this past year graduated from high school, and I think 4 out of the 6 are working for construction companies currently, and then the other 2 went on to community college, and they're continuing to work. But with construction, it's everything from electrical to students that are interested in becoming architects and that type of thing.
Is there any interface in any of these programs with the minimum security prison camp out in the south of the county?
Yes, but I don't know what the specifics are. I do know that there's partnership there.
Well, I know our Richard has actively supported the evolution of those individuals, and that'd be a great adjunct to the program.
Any other questions for Ryan?
Yes. Do you have anywhere public access to maybe like a PowerPoint presentation, something that I could get and share with
Yes.
a bunch of students?
Yes, I sure can. Yeah. And I'll send it to somebody. Can I send it to you? I can send you some information. And I've got links too that if you talk to other employers that might be interested, I can give them specific information about what the benefits are. I met with 2 or 3 local business owners this past year that had never done work-based learning before. And if I was a small business owner, I could use the, for example, let's just take the work-based learning course that is just 32 hours. You could take, let's say, 5 interns within a semester. And let's say that out of those 5, let's say Rhino's one of them. And Rhino comes in, he shows up every time on time. He does what I ask him to do. He seems like he might be a potentially good employee. Then what I could do is the next semester I could try to do a full internship with him. Then I could talk to him about part-time employment and then help support him maybe at the community college. And all of a sudden, I brought someone on and my only commitment was 32 hours and I didn't have to pay him to begin with, but now all of a sudden I've got a really awesome employee. And that type of story, I think, could play itself out quite a bit in our community and really help create that workforce that we need to have.
Remember that, what was the name of that company, the last field trip we did to a company?
Russia?
Yeah, remember he was saying how desperate he was to find good people.
Yeah.
Is he involved in?
I don't know, but what I'm talking about would be a perfect opportunity because that's what Sarstead and Tenova and Technobuilt and all these companies that are involved in these
I'll
programs.
send him
are
a
doing.
copy of this video. I'll address him.
But if those folks wanted to contact me, I could at least put them in, connect them to the folks that can help them.
Ryan, thank you. We owe you a speaker's gift.
I didn't think we did that for internal, but.
Well, I've got 2 at home.
I've got one back here. So I thought, with our club, I thought we passed that.
Well,
They are members of the club, and not entitled, but we started out with it. It's entirely up to you.
I'd like,
But he
Ryan,
didn't
to
come
have his-
wearing his member's hat today, he came wearing his K-64 hat.
here we go. Ryan,
Picture.
$10.
And if you're gonna treat anybody good, treat family better.
Ryan, thank you.
Hang on, stay there for a second.
Hearing, Mr. President.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Wait, hang on one second there, Donald.
Okay.
All right, let me get it shot in. Great. Super presentation.
Great job, Ryan, thank you. Mr.
I
Hicks.
suggest our policy be treat everybody good, but treat family best.
Amen. I have a few announcements, and then if you have some, we'll get to them. I want to remind you that this Friday is the polio dedication events. At 11 o'clock, in Miracle Hickory Park, at the Music Factory area, will be the dedication of the Hickory Sunrise Rotary Monument. It won't be called that, but there should be, and I've talked to people, there should be something about our club sponsoring it or maintaining it, things like that. I've asked them to do that. And then following that, we go downtown to Lindy's Furniture Building, and if you want to go to that, where you really need to be is at the upper level of the parking deck. And you get on that upper level by Trade Alley, which is a one-way street, but you go down there and just get into the park, and the activity is gonna be up that way, so you can see, look over and see the wall right there.
You may want to park in the Union Square parking
Right,
and
that's very true.
walk in
Yeah,
because
yeah.
construction has everything ripped up.
Yeah, and there are more parking spaces in Union Square now than there used to be. And our district governor, Tiffany, will be there Friday as well. I've asked her to make a couple remarks, and I'll be making some remarks. A couple years ago, G brought up the subject of a bus shelter. Well, it's still alive. And I have gone to Greenway Transportation, and we agreed that the area at Viewmont Baptist Church will be a good one to do it. I need to find out who owns that property. It's my understanding that Viewmont Baptist owns it, so we need to clear it with them. And so it's still talking about it. And the veterans will kick in a lot of money to help with that as well.
Dr. Mendez, I go to church there, so if I can do anything to help.
Oh, yeah, okay, good, great. Yeah, put me in touch with the office or something like that, Next week, Lynn Seymour has the program. He would have been here today, but he sent me a text last night saying that his dish went out, or they come to repair his dish at 7:30 this morning. And I sent back a word. I said, well, I've got some extra dishes if you need them. But he is planning to be here, and he has the program. The foundation dinner is November the 2nd, but I don't know where that is. Is it in Fletcher, I think?
Yeah.
Okay, if anybody's going to that, I don't know, I might go. I have looked till I'm blue in the face for my directory. Did I end up giving my Rotary directory to anybody? Does anybody have an extra directory? Because I cannot find
The
mine.
club directory or the district directory?
The club directory.
I'll find
Okay, thank you. Phil, do you know, does anybody know if this projector works?
Probably.
Okay.
This is the old one.
Yeah, thank you.
I need a dollar for that.
All right. You got it, my friend.
it. Very good.
And it's worth a dollar. I just, for future reference, some people have said that we have a program. I just want to make sure we get it to work.
I haven't
Tinkered with it for a while.
been a couple of months, but
Okay.
we struggled through getting it going.
All right.
Sometimes we seem to get it going and no audio and.
Yeah.
Rick,
Yeah, okay. Kenny,
around this, dedication stuff, we're gonna put any flowers or set anything out there
well,
to maintain or?
what I told them is our responsibility is maintaining the area. And I will let people's better vision of how it can be done, but,
The reason I ask you, do you remember Lawrence that came here?
yeah.
I can get bushes or anything else.
Yes, that's
flowers.
perfect. When the thing is finished, and the obelisk is ready for people to look at it and stuff, some of us can look at it and say, okay, what should go there? Because they're tearing up everything that's there now. So there'll be opportunities for us to put things there. I told you guys last week that at our next club assembly, we will talk about the dance in depth, as well as Oktoberfest in depth. But just to be on the safe side, I've already secured October 24th next year for the dance at Morris Mills. So it's later in the month, it's closer to Halloween. I think that was your suggestion, Michael, and I was able to get that date. I texted the same band this morning, and he sent me back a note a little while ago saying he'll check the date for us. I thought they did a bang-up job. People really liked them.
Did you know, Rick, just one quick thing,
Sure.
excuse me, the Harper House, did you know they had a polio museum or something downstairs in there? Did
They
you know
did,
that?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they had an iron lung done there.
They've got that and a
Yeah.
bunch of other stuff,
Yeah.
and they've offered, and I don't want to be too premature, but the Historical Society of Catawba County, I was there Friday evening, or Sunday evening, they did a really neat haunted walk, historical / Richard Eller was there. Anyway, I requested if this club wanted to do a meeting there at the Harper House, right there by Fry.
That's a great
They would
idea.
give us a private tour, and then we could go downstairs,
Yeah.
look at the iron lung, and he said they've got a lot of other things.
If you could set that up for us.
Is that something? that
Oh,
you
yeah,
think would-
most definitely.
In light of all the polls.
Yeah, I mean, that's a natural for us as a Rotary Club.
And it's right at Fry, so it
Yeah,
shouldn't be too
yeah.
far out of the way, if everybody knows where that is, so I'll continue to work with that and see if we can't secure
Thank you, Jim.
one of our meetings.
I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
On the front of our bulletin, now the bulletin right now is basically a three-person effort, Kenny, Gavin, and I. I try to take care of the, today's agenda on the front page and from the president on page 3. Gavin takes care of page 2. We get the information to Kenny, he prints it all up. What I'm asking is to ensure that on page 1, where you see Dr. Ryan McCreary on the front there, that if you have the program, please get information to me, Gavin, or Kenny, or all of us, so that we have in timely fashion, so we can get that done. Ron Leach used to be able to take care of all that for us, and now I know why he kept saying, get it to me by a certain date. but my thanks to Gavin and Kenny and Gavin's assistant, Kenny's assistant at Laguna's Printing for everything you guys are doing. The bulletin looks really good. Any other announcements for the good of the club?
In the area of horse business, real quick, Ryan had suggested that we participate in school library books. Is that still an active something?
Yes. We can still do it through the partnership for children. It just, and, you know, you could, if we get the shelter built at Viewmont Baptist, you could put one there next to the shelter. Kind of make that a rotary.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And then
Good
the
idea.
kid, like if the families are there waiting on the bus, the kids can use the books while they're sitting there.
That's outstanding, that's a great job.
That church does a super Sunday or something, don't
Saturday
they?
Soup Kitchen.
That's it, yeah. I was
That would be
thinking-
another, yeah.
That's my
There's
point,
books there, yeah.
to your point about the families, I was thinking they did that.
And that would be a great.
I
Who
have
else?
lots of children's books or whatever to donate.
Good. Thank you, Don. Phil, do you have something?
No. I wanted to know if anybody took any photographs at the dance or at Oktoberfest. I forgot to take them at Oktoberfest, and just for the website, the Facebook page, and also for the district newsletter. I've got that one from you, Rick, which is great, but if anybody else has got any pictures of those events.
I'm guessing you may want to call the bank and ask Regina, because I think in her capacity, she may have taken some pictures.
Okay, how is Regina doing, by the way?
She thought she would make it here this morning unless she had some calls to obligate her to go back to Fry for a little bit, so. But she was gonna try to be here today.
So would it be out of place, is she well enough, like I could just email her?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
She's responding to email. Wayne?
What's the status on our dance? Roughly, how much did we make?
I think we about broke even.
$380.
Yeah, the preliminary is about plus 400, but there were some other donations, so I'm going to include that. I'll have a full report at the assembly
Okay.
with everything accounted on a separate budget.
And that's why we need a big discussion. Okay. Anything else?
On the front of the District 670 offices, I think Margaret is retired.
That's true. We probably need to eliminate that. Margaret Gormley Chapman
There
is no
is no
longer.
secretary.
And they did not fill a position. And let's see, anything else on there? Also, on today's agenda, if you see the four-way test, I started putting Steve's name in there, since he's always the one who starts it, but Steve is not here. Michael?
Of the thing
You think it's fair to do?
Is it
true?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Have a good week.
Who's gonna take care of District 7670 officers? Because I think we need to double check on Bob Saracen, because I think Sean has taken over.
Well, if you know that, you would just email Kenny.
You check and find out.
Yeah,
right.
Take care of yourself.
You will, sir.
I have a feeling that Bob is not here. I think he told me.
Sean has.
Wayne, thanks again.
You're welcome.
That means a lot.
Well,
That's
I mentioned to you.
much.
Okay, yeah, that's not a
It
problem.
was a topic I got better understanding